You keep asking yourself, why isn't this working? You try harder, push more, chase faster. But the more you force it, the more stuck you feel. You scroll past people who have it all figured out and wonder if something's wrong with you. But here's the truth. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you're definitely not lost. You're just forcing something that's not meant to unfold yet. And the harder you grip, the more it slips. But by the end of this video, you'll understand why that tension exists, and why letting go might be the very thing that finally sets you free. We live in a world that worships urgency. You're told you need a clear path by 18, success by 25, and peace of mind by 30. But that timeline? It's not real. It's a projection, a cultural illusion rooted in comparison and pressure. And here's what happens when you try to force growth before it's ready. You skip the necessary chaos. You suppress the learning phase. You rush the becoming without even knowing who you're becoming. That feeling of being lost? It's often just your intuition saying, slow down. It's not that the path isn't there. It's that it's still forming under your feet, one honest moment at a time. We've been conditioned to think the universe works like an Amazon delivery. You ask, you grind, you get. But the soul doesn't work that way. Your timing is not just about effort. It's about alignment. Think about it. Some doors won't open, not because they're locked, but because you're not supposed to walk through them yet. And the more you force it, the more disconnected you feel from your own center. That disconnection is what we mistake as being lost. You're not lost. You're being redirected toward what's meant to find you, when you're ready to receive it without pretending to be someone else. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing things that don't align with you. That's what happens when you keep forcing life to move at your pace instead of flowing with its rhythm. And deep down, you feel it. You know when you're chasing something just to escape stillness. But here's the trap. Forcing something doesn't speed it up. It actually delays it. Let's break it down. When you force a connection that's not mutual, you end up drained. When you push a dream that hasn't rooted in clarity, you end up resentful. When you act out of fear of falling behind, you end up creating more detours. We've been trained to hustle, to fight, to chase, but not to listen, and not to trust the pauses. Those moments where nothing seems to happen on the outside, but everything is shifting inside. Think about the seed underground. Nobody sees it, nobody claps for it, but it's forming roots, anchoring deeply so that when it does rise, it doesn't collapse with the first storm. That's you. You're in a rooting phase. But if you force it too soon, you sprout fast and fall faster. So much of our anxiety doesn't come from what's happening. It comes from what we think should be happening by now. It's the story we attach to the delay, the voice in your head saying, if it hasn't happened yet, it must mean I'm not enough. But that voice isn't truth. It's noise. And it's costing you your peace. You're not behind. You're not lazy. You're simply in a season that's asking for alignment, not aggression. And the moment you stop fighting the flow is the moment clarity starts to return. Not as a loud answer, but as a quiet knowing. Feeling lost doesn't always mean you're on the wrong path. It often just means you're not aligned with the timing of your own life. Or you're judging yourself based on someone else's. We live in a world obsessed with timelines. Graduate by this age, succeed by that age, have it all figured out before 30. But who created that clock? And why are we so afraid of being in the in-between? You're not lost. You're just in a place that isn't finished forming yet. And when something hasn't fully formed, trying to label it or rush it only adds pressure. That pressure turns into confusion, and that confusion makes you start questioning your worth. You look around and see people who look ahead. You scroll past highlight reels and milestones and start thinking, why not me? But what if they're not ahead? They're just in a different season. One person is harvesting while you're still planting, and you're measuring your process by their product. But here's the truth. You can't harvest a crop you haven't even watered yet. The feeling of being lost is often a symptom of being too future-focused. You're trying to be somewhere you haven't grown into, trying to wear a version of yourself that hasn't been stitched yet. That tension, that internal mismatch, that's what creates the anxiety. And what if being lost is actually part of the map? Like a reset point, a recalibration, a quiet moment where life removes the noise so you can finally hear yourself. You've just been so busy trying to get somewhere that you forgot to ask, is where I'm going even for me? When you stop chasing what's not ready, when you stop comparing your season to someone else's, you start feeling the ground beneath you again. And slowly, what felt like being lost becomes something more sacred. Stillness, space, listening. Because sometimes not knowing is where the real answers begin to form. Let's slow this down. Because this isn't about productivity anymore. This isn't even about finding your life purpose or unlocking some mythical next level of success. This is about being real with where you are, without shame. You're not lost. You're not behind. You're just unlearning a timeline that was never written for you in the first place. See, the world teaches you to treat life like a checklist. Graduate, get a job, get a house, get married, level up, keep going. But no one talks about what happens when your soul doesn't follow that checklist. What happens when your growth doesn't arrive on schedule? When healing takes longer than expected? When you outgrow something you thought would last forever? You start to feel like something is wrong with you. But maybe nothing is wrong. Maybe you're not late. Maybe you're just arriving somewhere deeper. Here's what they don't teach you in school or society. Life has rhythms, not deadlines. Seasons, not scripts. You can't force a tree to bear fruit in winter, and you can't force yourself to blossom before your roots are deep. But because you're comparing yourself to highlight reels, you keep pulling at the soil, trying to speed things up, trying to look like you have it together, trying to get back on track. But whose track are you on? You feel lost, not because you don't have a path, but because you're standing in the middle of a transformation you don't fully understand yet. And that's okay. Real growth doesn't come with a GPS voice telling you, in 100 meters, your purpose will arrive. It comes from quiet moments where you stop running from the discomfort and start sitting in it. Moments where you stop saying, I should be, and start asking, what do I need right now? So if no one's told you this today, you don't need to rush. You don't need to explain. You don't need to have it all figured out because you're not falling behind. You're falling into alignment. And that thing you've been trying to force, if it's meant for you, it will meet you when you're ready for it. Not when the world says you should be. Until then, let go of the panic. Not as someone who's failing, but as someone who's finally learning how to live on your own terms.